Hello and welcome. My name is Sharon Otness, and I'm the founder of Design Your Beautiful Life, where I help you create a life you don't need to escape from. Welcome to Wellness Chats. This is where I love bringing in experts in all different areas of health and wellness, so that you can just get a really broad spectrum of really interesting topics that so many people in the wellness world can bring to you rather than you having to go seek and find everyone. Part of my journey of being in the wellness world for 10 years means that luckily, hi Anita, luckily I have had the meeting so many people that I think will bring such great value to you in your life. And again, take the ones that work for you and the ones that don't, pass along perhaps to somebody that they do. So today, I am so excited to bring to you, hello Anita, my dear friend, she's my dear friend and an amazing woman, Dr. Anita Jackson. And I'll just give you a rundown, and then of course I'll give you my personal spin as well. For the past 25 years, Dr. Anita has worked with human, spiritual, and entrepreneurial development and transformation as a marriage and family therapist and organizational psychologist. Wow, that's a mouthful. She also has a rich background in Christian higher education, personal and professional coaching, and organizational consultation and leadership. Anita is the founder and CEO of the Unlimited Woman Alliance. I love that. Her Global Voice and AMJ Productions and Publications. She is fast becoming a sought-after feminine transformational mentor, speaker, leader, and success coach within the feminine empowerment movement. She has an unquenchable passion to lead a movement of women to a higher level. I always think of Anita as let's go higher, let's go bigger, let's go broader, let's speak out louder. She does that, and it just really helps create a tipping point of healing for others worldwide. And at the core, Dr. Anita mentors women entrepreneurs in knowing I am enough. Such a powerful statement. While helping them lead, live, and leverage their unlimited potential, power, and purpose in life, business, wealth, and so much more. How about that?
Yay, that's a mouthful. Even I'm like, okay, I need to shorten that. I'm tired of listening to it myself.
You do so much. And I have had the pleasure of knowing Anita, one of the first really that I met when I went to LA and created a life there for a time. And I know from Anita, it was always like this magnet that has always drawn me towards her because, again, it's always her messages. Let's do it bigger. Let's do it this way. Let's do it differently. You matter. You've got a good voice. Speak out. And so I always just kind of went, okay. And I had the sheer pleasure of joining her in many different ventures, one of which was for her I Am Enough magazine, which I didn't even mention here because I knew I would speak to it personally. So she does things in a big, bold way. And we have to love that, right? So many of us women shrink instead of expanding and playing bigger. So today we're talking about something that I think is fascinating and a lot of it actually stems from a conversation Anita and I had, gosh, maybe it was a couple of years ago even, but it always stuck with me because I thought it was a really good conversation to have. And so when we talked about doing this, I said, that's the one I want you to talk about with my audience. And that is about what is the feminine prosperity hormone. We talk about a hormone, but let's look at it maybe with a different lens.
Yes. I have to tell you, Sharon, thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this amazing opportunity to speak to your audience and to your community. Hi, everybody. I'm just Anita. I may have accomplished all these things, but at the core of my heart, I'm Anita. And Sharon, it has been truly the biggest honor of my life. We have been through thick and thin together. We have really seen each other. We have a lot of the same stories, like experiences, especially with our mom, and our dogs are alike. So we have a lot of similarities in that as well. And so it has been a true pleasure just to have you as a sister in my life, to have you as a colleague. And I think that's what's so crucial to what we need to experience right now is, you know, this whole global pandemic has pulled us apart. And the relationships that you're able to maintain are so crucial, are so valuable, are so precious. And I was telling a friend of mine, like, I value my girlfriends. I value the women in my life that I work with in my business, as well as clients, as well as the relationships I have with other women like yourself. They mean so much to me, and particularly when you're going through a challenge and you need a safe place to take off your mask, to let down your hair, to have that ugly kind of cry, and someone say, I still see greatness in you. And Sharon, that's something you've always done since I've known you. You've always said, Anita, I see greatness in you. And I see the potential, and we're able to share stories. We're able to tell each other, you know, even when we're going through something difficult, there's this love and continual support. And I really want to encourage everybody, if you haven't really connected to Sharon, I highly recommend that you do, because if anyone is going to be in your corner, I really do think it's Sharon. So Sharon, it's a blessing to be here with you and to talk about feminine prosperity hormone, my favorite topic.
Yeah, let's get to it.
All right. So what would you like to know about that? Where do we start?
Where do we start? Well, I think just, I guess the question, what do you mean by that? I mean, we know about hormones, and of course, as a female, we know hormones are, you know, raging through our body, and they're, you know, kind of in balance sometimes, and sometimes when they're out of balance, boy, we have problems. But you know, you're looking at it through a little different lens, and I think that's what's so interesting. So I'd love for you to
Yeah.
share what you mean by that, like what hormone
Yes.
are we talking about, and how
Okay.
you're looking at it for our well-being in a little different way.
Well, I'll tell you, I can't give myself credit for the terminology of that. I didn't come up with it. I didn't coin it. It was actually coined by Dr. Paul Zak. He is a neurologist and a psychologist out here in Southern California at Claremont McKenna University. And so Claremont is a research university out here in California. And I had the pleasure of actually living down the street from the university. And I had a friend of mine, or she was more of a colleague that I knew. Her name was Dr. Ellie Drake. And she and Dr. Paul had this huge study that they'd been doing for about 22, 23 years, where they were really studying what makes a woman successful. Because Ellie's drive was to help more women really connect to the feminine. So she's probably one of the pioneers to really out there with Barbara. Oh my gosh, I can see her face so clearly. I can't think of her name. Hudson? No. Hubert. I think it's Barbara Hubert. She's very well known. Anyways, and Dr. Claire Thomas and all these other women who are teaching about feminine power. And in her study and in her research, they started to do this research on how a woman's body works when it comes to aligning with wealth and abundance, because that's what she noticed was the biggest problem for most women.
Yeah.
They were really struggling with manifesting wealth and abundance and money and maintaining it. So she goes, they can attract it, but they weren't maintaining it. And so Dr. Zak said, well, there's a lot of neurologists, there's a lot of science behind the reason why most of these women are probably struggling. And so they kind of came together and they did this research and found that there are really 4 specific hormones and chemicals that operates in both a male and a female body, brain, and that the female brain produces higher levels of certain hormones that when she focuses on keeping that hormone high in her body, she experiences more peace, joy, wealth. She friends and befriends other people, which is going to add to a higher level of feeling abundant, which is also going to help her feel more wealthy. And so I'll tell you what those 4 are, then I'll tell you the specific hormone. So those 4 hormones and chemicals are dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, epinephrine. You need your dose of all 4, because that's really what it spells. is, again, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and epinephrine. So I'll go through each one. So dopamine really is kind of like your happy drug. It's what reps you up, it gets you going, gets your brain going. It's the feel-good chemical, if you will. There's a lot more I could say to it, but we'll just leave it at that to make this really simple. And then oxytocin. Oxytocin is what normally most of us consider the love hormone. It's the hormone that makes you bond and connect to your partner during intimacy, during sex, and bond to your child when you're nurturing or breastfeeding. You're going to have that bond. It's a bonding chemical. And then you've got serotonin. Serotonin is what affects your mood and your thoughts. So that's what's going on in your beautiful brains and helps you think clearly, help you focus. It really affects your frontal lobe cortex, which is right here behind your brain. That piece of your beautiful, gorgeous brain is so crucial to your success, but that's a whole nother conversation for another time. And then epinephrines. So again, all of these chemicals and hormones together will powerfully support you in creating your feminine prosperity hormone. But your feminine prosperity hormone specifically is the oxytocin. Remember, I just said it's your bonding hormone. It's the hormone that causes you to become a money magnet. It's the hormone that makes your energy and vibration rise at such a high level that that's when you can start to attract things to you easily, effortlessly, and continuously. And I had to go through a really major loss and some powerful transitions in my own life for me to realize that my oxytocin level had dropped dramatically. And that's what, and so if you're dealing with, let's say, adrenal fatigue syndrome, your oxytocin level, I promise you, is low. Does that make sense so far? I'll just stop there because I can keep on going.
Totally makes sense. And I will tell you, I kind of addressed this a little bit in my email that I prompted our conversation with, is about oxytocin and how I think a lot of us are maybe a little on the low spectrum right now, especially those of us that have been isolated, because we're not the hugs and the, so this is a timely and important conversation to have is, let's make sure we're watching our oxytocin levels. And the good thing for you and I, we've got our little four-legged friends, and hugging them is just as good as hugging a person, almost.
I think women don't understand is this oxytocin is crucial to your well-being. Spiritually, it helps you connect and bond even more deeply to God in your spiritual practices. Psychologically, it helps you feel good because it really does trigger the other hormones and helping you feel good. So there's going to be more clarity, there's more focus. Your confidence level is going to go up. Your desire level is going to go up. Your sense of feeling full and expanded is going to go up when your oxytocin level is up. And then it's going to help you attract more of the things you're setting your intentions for, more of the things that you're trying to manifest in your life. And like what you just said, because we've been going through this global pandemic and we've been told to stay 6 feet apart, and then if you know of anyone who unfortunately has contacted, is it contract or contact? I think you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
COVID, then it's going to interfere with your ability to keep that level high, like you were just saying. And then if there's stress on top of that and your body's producing the enemy, cortisol, I think it's the devil. Like, cortisol is probably the most destructive hormone you can have, or chemical, you can have running through your body. So if you were to give yourself a massage and it feels tender or sore or achy, if you feel knots, if you feel your joints are hurting, or if your body feels sluggish, that's cortisol. So if cortisol is running through your system, I promise you, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, epinephrines are low. And what's going to happen is if they're low and you're trying to manifest something, then your energy, frequency, and vibration, just from a science-based perspective, is not going to work. And that's when I looked at my life and said, I know how to manifest. I know how to be successful. I know how to go after things. I know how to make things happen, i.e., Sharon just read my whole long list of everything that I've done. But yet, even though I was doing all the right thing, I wasn't receiving the success at the level that I wanted to. And I really, from a brain-based perspective, I couldn't get it. It just didn't make any sense to me. So that's when I had to stop, or I was made to lovingly stop, to say COVID was a blessing. And I had to sit down and really reevaluate what I call the 4 divine operating system. Everybody has 4 divine, actually it's 5 now. So 5 operating systems. Who you are spiritually, psychologically, biologically, environmental, and wealth. Those 5 areas need to be operating consistently in every area of your life. And mine wasn't. I was completely out of balance. And my body was really beginning to show it. I was blaming it on menopause, but it was everything.
Yeah.
It's menopause, it's anxiety, it's depression, it's the world going upside down, it's not having clarity. And all of that was affecting my oxytocin level. So I wasn't having the same level of success that I had before. So then I made this an intention. Sorry, I don't like the word. I'm getting rid of the word intention.
Oh, okay.
I'm deciding now. The word is decision.
Uh-huh.
I'm making a decision. That word decision means to reach a definite conclusion. And intention I can be easily distracted from. But when I make a decision, it feels more like I'm in alignment. It has more power to it for me. So that's where I've decided it's time to make a decision to stay in my feminine prosperity formula. What do I have to do to make that happen?
I just love that. And I think this is hopefully answering the question people might have of like, well, I thought this was supposed to be about wellness, and we're talking about, money and abundance and all of those things. Well, guess what? I mean, part of our wellness, remember, there's a big wheel of all different parts of wellness.
Right.
And certainly what's on the end of our fork, that's an obvious. Getting some, exercise and movement, maybe an obvious too, but we have to remember there's also other components, and those are, spirituality and our relationships, and definitely our financial well-being, because we
Yes.
restricted and awful it feels if we're always worried
Yes.
about, can we survive,
Yes.
feed ourselves, can we,
Right.
ourselves in a nice place to live. So it's very much a part
And
of our
that's high on the scale of stress too. So
very,
if your basic needs are not being met, then you're going to probably be in the 80, 90, and 100 percentile or more when it comes to dealing with stress. It's
yeah.
one of those top stressors. And so if you're stressed, I promise you your oxytocin level is low. You're not, and then you can't focus, you can't concentrate, you can't sleep. And I was having as much as I know stuff, I'm so focused on the producing and doing. COVID taught me how to be again. Thank you, COVID. And then watching so many other people and so many of my friends see that we kind of, let me back up a little bit and say it this way. So I'm sure a lot of coaches have said we're hardwired for the negative. I disagree 1000%. We're not hardwired for the negative. I don't believe God created us that way at all. I do believe we are hardwired for the familiar or patterns. So if your environment was negative, then that pattern, that familiar experience got developed. You weren't wired for it. You got conditioned for the wiring of it. Does that make sense?
Totally.
And so if that's happening, it's going
And
to affect your body producing.
and how we've started talking to ourselves, right? I mean, you brought up some things
Right.
earlier. I went right to words matter. Words matter. Your intention versus your
Yes.
decision. If you've always
Yes.
been talking to yourself like, oh, I'm not good at making money. I don't know. I don't know how to make money. It
Right.
makes me comfortable. You talk about all those things to yourself constantly. And I have been guilty. Like all of these things that we're talking about, I have been, guilty as well. So that's why I thought this was a really great conversation, because you just bring a new light to, I think, again, of how to look at this a little differently. We've got some things in our control, right? I mean, we can
Yes.
control the things that we need to do or be for our oxytocin to,
Yeah.
be up and running and feeling good, and then attracting more of what we
Yes.
need in life and what we want, not what we don't want.
Yes, I think, as much as many of us have been a part of all kinds of programs, we've been trained by all kinds of coaches and they're sharing good information. What I have seen is a lot of coaches don't know a lot of the science. So they don't have the science on the biological side, or they don't have the science on the psychological side, so they're missing. So it's not as whole and as complete as the information could be. And so when I got into psychology, I was very, very lucky that 3 of my professors were also medical doctors. So I got a chance to learn a lot about brain-based information, which I think was a godsend because they're no longer teaching at that. It was specifically for me because I was very fascinated, and I still am to this day. And I think every woman, there's one book I highly recommend. Every woman should read The Power of a Female Brain by Daniel Amen, Dr.
Oh,
Daniel Amen. And the reason being is if you understand the power of your gorgeous, beautiful brain, everything else you learn will make more sense. So what you're talking about, how we talk to ourselves, you have to understand that we're creating these neurological pathways, we're creating these synapses, we're causing our cells to biologically respond to that truth. And if it's been hearing it over and over for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, not that they can't be changed, because they can, it just takes a lot of time, and you definitely have to be in an environment. That's the newest thing that's really been coming forward for me is you develop this because you're in an environment. So that means you have to be in a new environment to recondition it.
yeah.
So what environment are you in consistently? Who are you hearing consistently? Who are you rubbing arms with consistently? What mastermind groups or coaching programs or events are you going to consistently that's sharpening and restructuring your vagus nerve? Your vagus nerve is the longest nerve in your system, VAGAS. And that beautiful, gorgeous thing is responsible for releasing the chemicals in your body, or it tightens up. Like you were saying earlier, when we're in stress or overwhelm, anxiety. So the way the vagus nerve looks, it's a long little nerve. It has little tentacles on both sides. And at the top of the tentacle, there's a little tiny little hole, and it's constantly shooting chemicals the whole entire, all day long, every single day. And the moment you start to feel anxious or angry or frustrated or you're tired, that little hole gets smaller and smaller until it closes. And the moment it closes, there's a little flap at the back of your spine that's constantly moving to release the chemicals in your body. When you get nervous, it stiffens. The moment it stiffens, it's closing down the ability for oxygen and blood and all that to flow through your whole body. The body knows itself exceptionally well. God is ingenious in how he designed us. So the hippocampus kicks in and says, wait, are you in fight or flight? Something's wrong here, and we have to get you going. So that's when more cortisol kicks in to help you fight or flight. And
Right.
it's supposed to come in and go out. Because of what we've been in for so long, it's probably just conditioned now to release cortisol more so than your oxytocin. So
Yeah.
we've got to get back to feeling really good.
And that's being well documented, is that, we are
Oh
living
yes.
much in that, fight or flight system that we were never designed
Yes.
to be in for other than like seconds.
Right.
Um,
Right.
gosh, I mean, obviously I could talk to you all day long. But let me ask you this for all the people that are watching now and later. What are your top 3 suggestions to feminine wellness?
Ooh, that's a good one. Okay, so I really, really believe in your spiritual development. So when I mean spiritual development, I mean connecting to your higher self, connecting to God, to source, to spirit, whichever word works best for you, and making that a non-negotiable. That's like the foundation that you stand on. We've said it, we've heard it. We're spiritual beings living in a human body, having a human experience. And what I've added on to that is our human experiences often take us away from our spiritual truth. So we've got to get back to the spiritual truth that we are whole, that we're complete, there's nothing missing, nothing broken. And if that becomes the focus of what we're thinking about all the time, we may live at a higher level of producing more of that prosperity hormone in our body and feeling better because we already know it's taken care of. It's one thing to have information about it. It's a whole other thing to embody that truth. So spirituality has to be foundational. Number 2, relationship. You have got to be in the right relationship. You were created purely for relationship. And I don't think enough of us really understand what it means to connect and have those intimate relationships that's beyond, it's almost like husband and wife, they have their connection. Mothers and fathers have their connection to their children. Children have their connections to the parents. But we also need our own individual space and place where we can truly be transparent, where we can truly be vulnerable, where we can be safe. And I've noticed the difference between some relationships where I feel like I can't be all of me and others where I feel like I can be all of me, and the power of the difference between the two. So making that a priority for yourself. And then the other piece of wellness, obviously me being a psychologist, is really focusing on your psychology. What's going on in the mind? You know, what is your mindset, the thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your habits, your behaviors and habits, I guess they go together, your character, and then how you just kind of live your life, you know, the perspective that you have on life. Your mindset is so crucial. And having the right kind of support to make that happen. Go ahead.
Okay, so with mindset, because I'm all about mindfulness, mindset, you know, how you talk to yourself, etc. What is one suggestion, tip, whatever, would you give somebody that, okay, yeah, I get it, I need to work on that mindset. What would be one actionable thing that I could do to kind of get myself back in the game, so to speak?
Well, I'm going to give credit to one of my professors, Dr. Curtis Roundson. So he was the leading expert when I was in school working with multiple personality disorders, or now they're called dissociative identity disorders. And he worked with individuals who had like 100 personality disorders. That's his expertise. So I got trained by him. And so he used to say something like, if you're having a lot of challenges with not talking to yourself very lovingly, it's because you have multiple thoughts and multiple feelings and maybe even multiple personalities without it being fully defined or formed inside every single person on this planet. And he said, so when that, I call her the hag in the attic, starts to talk and she starts to get out of whack, out of alignment, he said, the best thing you can tell it to do is get back into your power. And how you get back in your power is you talk to that part of yourself that's critical, that's judgmental, that's degrading, that's trying to basically make you feel like crap. Basically say, I'm not listening to you right now, go in the corner and be quiet. And because you put yourself in the adult position, you put yourself in the power position, 9 times out of 10, it's going to respond and go sit in the corner. Why? Because it's a child. The ego is a child and it's stamping its feet trying to get its needs met, which basically means if that's happening, you're not listening and honoring yourself at all. And that's why she's acting out. So I always tell you want to take care of your mindset, start really listening to yourself. Start honoring what you need, what you desire, what you want, value it, hold on to it, claim it as your truth. Don't question it, don't poo-poo it, don't dismiss it, because the moment you do, the ego's gonna act out. And the moment they act out, it gets louder and louder, because it's almost like, here's my favorite analogy. Have you ever gone to a grocery store and you've seen a mom with a child, and the child's going, mommy, 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 mommy. Right? Most mothers have. I don't have any kids, but I've been around mothers who've done it. Well, what happens when mom ignores the child? What typically happens to the child?
They keep acting out.
They act out even more. And the moment mom responds and acknowledges the child, what typically happens?
Well, hopefully they calm down.
9 times out of 10, they calm down. Hopefully, right. But 9 times out of 10, most of them do. Every once in a while, someone doesn't, but most of them do. Your ego's the same way. And so if she's acting out, it's because some need within you has been ignored by you. And so now she's giving you all these critical statements to make you feel bad so that you'll respond. It's not really to make you, well, I take that back. It's not to make you feel bad, but it's to try to get your attention so that you can change the way you're thinking or feeling. And so this is a great way to be able to say, okay, if I'm thinking negative thoughts, it's because I'm being too critical on myself and a need's not being met. What do I need to have met? And how do I meet it? How do I meet it first? And then how do I ask for help if someone else needs to be a part of the solution?
Oh my goodness. Well, again, this is so good. I could just sit and talk and talk and talk and talk.
We can talk for hours.
We could talk for hours. We have. What's next up? I'm noticing that you are getting back, not like getting back, maybe because of being able to get out more and getting more in person, some more speaking engagements.
Yes.
What's next for you, or if somebody wants to start speaking more, how would they reach
Yeah.
out?
Well, I'll tell you COVID really made me take a really big take a seat and take a step back and kind of reassess everything. And I, like I said earlier, I realized how much I was definitely out of alignment with my deeper, higher truth and showing up in the power of who I'm supposed to be. And one of the things that really is on my heart very, very strongly, and something that I believe God and the divine resource has been dropping almost on a regular basis, is empowering women to understand that to become unlimited, you have to become abundant. You have to really define abundance. So a lot of, and abundance is so much richer, so much deeper. There's so many layers to it that very few coaches really talk about. And I had to learn it. I didn't know it at first myself. I had to go through the journey of losing everything in order to gain it. And so from that, what's coming forward is that desire in me to, like you said, is to get back on the stage. I absolutely 100% love being on stage. I'm a ham. I enjoy it. It loves me. I love it. And so the calling that's on my heart is to create more platforms for women like you and other women who know that they're called to speak to the masses. I know that I am. I've done a lot of big events, and now it's time for me to produce a lot of big events and create these platforms that allows women to share their story, because there is a huge exchange taking place right now. We're moving from the masculine into the feminine, and that means more women need to show up in very powerful leadership positions. The best way to do that is to speak. So here's what I'm trying to do, is create the platform that allows more women to share their story and their wisdom and their expertise, so we can heal our family, community, and the world.
And there it is. You are you are just a beautiful force in the world, and I'll always always best. I know lots more of you, and I'm so happy to introduce you to anyone that did not already know about Dr. Anita Jackson, because she's one of my favorite people in the world. Okay, I love you.
You as well, to me.
Thank you for joining us.
Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.